We'd like to welcome you to this week's episode of The Walkthrough, Week 10.
Week 10.
We've made it all the way to what was the end of the season, and we still have another week to go.
It remains to be continued.
To be continued. But this week we have a lot of good stuff to talk about, some game balls to hand out,
a special
game
one,
ball
yeah.
to hand out, a first here at the Walkthrough. We'll name our player of the week, and we'll get into all the region races. We'll do all that right after this break.
I always ask myself, would I want me to represent me? Would I want a lawyer who is prepared, who is passionate, who is capable? And every day that we represent our clients, we're telling our clients that you can count on us to bring every skill, every ability, and all of our passion in representing your interests. That's what it means to count on Chandler. That means that you can count on us to fight for you.
All right, we are back here at the Game Balls board, which is accompanied by a pumpkin this week.
Hey,
so,
it's about that time.
It's about that time. Well, we're going to start things out with a couple familiar faces on the Game Balls board. We're going to start with Chris Torres for starters. Big week for him. Got a nod for the North-South game following a big performance on Friday night, 15 tackles, and also got in the end zone, which we've seen the linebackers do before, scored on a 4-yard touchdown run. So obviously he gets up on the board. And a fellow North Augusta athlete, Corey Buxton, who's more used to getting in the end zone running the football. Right. He had himself a big game as well with 184 yards and 2 touchdowns in North Augusta's blowout victory.
Yeah, so, one big win for a hopeful region champion. We'll bring it over and do a little bit of the same here. We'll do it at the Class A level, and we'll do it with Wagner Sally. Let's start with Antonio Swedenberg. We're starting to see his name pop up here a lot, too.
Yeah.
In the win for Wagner Sally, he ends up with 5 tackles, also made 2 interceptions as the Wagner Sally defense really kept Denmark Olar from getting anything going, really took care of all those big play threats that they have. Wagner, on the other hand, their big play threats got things done. Another one of those is Josh Davis. Now, he's a guy who does a lot of little things here and there. He does them right, though. And it gets to a situation where maybe they're up big, they need him to run the football. He's getting you a first down every time he touches it. So against Denmark, he gets 9 tackles, 3 of those for loss, and a pick 6.
That'll get the job done.
And it didn't end there defensively for Wagner Sally, because we'll get Jacoby Schofield in there too. And 14 tackles, that's a good night. 9 tackles for loss. That put him in the lead in the area in that category.
It's certainly a big game for him defensively, and we're going to go to another guy that you mentioned Josh doing a little bit of everything. We're going to go to another guy who does a little bit of everything, and Aiken's Jeremiah Green. Obviously, he's all over the field, and they showed that again on Friday night. Returned to kickoff, 91 yards for a touchdown. He also had 8 tackles in the game and ran for 74 yards on 11 carries. So he did it all and did it all well.
Right, and that touchdown return. We said it when it happened, but that really showcased 3 of the things that make him so dangerous, and that was, the vision to find the opening there, the power to run through a couple of tackle attempts, and then the speed that once he got through those, there was no catching it. So really, really impressive stuff. Another guy who people just cannot catch these days, Ridge Springman, that is Collier Sullivan. What a game that he had this past week down at Estill, which was kind of the house of horrors for Ridge Springman a couple years ago. Not the case this time around. Collier Sullivan goes 18 carries for 268 yards and 3 touchdowns. And similar to Jacoby Schofield taking over an area lead, Collier Sullivan's now our leading rusher.
Definitely number 1 in the stats this week. Another guy, we're going to go back to the defense this time now, and obviously Evan Hall for Silver Bluff. And
what a night they had.
Big defensive performance. 96 comes in with a strong offense, and they just shut them down. No, held them off the scoreboard. Obviously, Hall and everyone was a big part of that, but Hall had 17 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks on a quarterback that kind of is quite elusive.
A guy who, we're talking about all-purpose yards every game. He's like over 300,
yes.
And it's, no big deal when he has 5 touchdowns in a game, and to take him down in the backfield to get a couple sacks, that's something that not a whole lot of people can say they've done this season.
Definitely.
So we've had some big tackle numbers. We'll bring in another one here from Williston Elko. It's Jazion Washington Dix. Tough matchup for them with Blackville Hilda, a team that really likes to power the football.
Right.
Not always, the kind of thing you're looking forward to, I think, as a defensive back, is to see one of those big Blackville runners coming right at you after having gotten through that middle of the defense. Well, he was up to the task. 16 tackles, 4 of them for loss, forced a fumble and recovered 1.
That's a solid game there, and we're going to go stay in Barnwell County and go back to the offense a little bit. And this guy,
Mr. Efficiency,
Mr. Efficiency, Craig Pender at Barnwell High School. He did it again, 10-14 for 179 yards, and also threw for 3 touchdowns. And he just keeps rolling. So he's back on the game balls board once again.
Tell you what, let's see him do it again this week.
If he does it again this week, I'm sure there'll be a lot of happy people in Barnwell. A big, big game for them coming up this week.
Big, big game. And what we'll do right here is we've got a special game ball to hand out. For those of you that were watching along with us on Friday night for the Brooklyn-KC Aiken game, if you stuck with us during halftime anyway.
Which you should have.
You should have. If you didn't, you missed out. We had some youth football going on. We had the Center Chiefs and the Northside Bears, and that is where the legend of Little Dirt was born.
Yes, indeed.
I don't even know really how to describe this run, but he went the distance. He broke just about every tackle possible.
Once he hit the corner, he was quite elusive and got down the sideline for the score.
So who knows? Could be a young man that we see doing the same thing at the high school level in the very near future. But that was the first big excitement for the home crowd in that game. I mean, he had everybody on their feet, and then sure enough, they come out for the second half, and Jeremiah Green runs the kickoff back. And
maybe Lil Dirt inspired Jeremiah Green. We'll have to ask him about it.
I think Lil Dirt's inspired us all.
Definitely. But we'll come back and hand out a Chick-fil-A Player of the Week award and get into some other things on this week's episode of The Walkthrough.
That one family night in Dumfries, Virginia. Family night is for everybody. It's a time for families to do crafts together.
The kids just love going to Chick-fil-A for dinner. Being the single mom and getting everybody ready, it was tough. We would get there a little bit late, like on the tail end of it. Helen saw that I was having trouble getting them to Chick-fil-A for the family night on time and actually got it extended another hour. Noticing things like that. I never really told her how much she affected me, but she did.
Love you.
All right, and we're back on the walkthrough, and we're going to hand out a Chick-fil-A Player of the Week award to Evan Hall. We spoke about it a little bit earlier. He was a big part of that defensive effort that held 96 in check. So congratulations to him on a big game and winning some Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that to have the undefeated number 5 team in the state come in. It's just been torching everybody, and hang a donut on the board. That's worth Chick-fil-A to me. Definitely.
And now we're going to transition into the media poll, which once again is kind of, there's some movement, but not too much. The biggest thing is North Augusta got back into the media poll, up to number 8. They were ranked a little bit earlier in the season, and now that they've gone through the region and gotten some big wins, they're back up there at number 8. Voters like what they've seen from them so far. Down at the 3A level, Strom Thurmond stayed put at number 5 after winning a region championship and defeating Pillion. So they're still there. Barnwell's still number 2, but we've been saying that all season. So
yeah, I mean, Barnwell and Wagner Sally both. It's just kind of,
I think they're going to be number 2 for a while.
Right.
But yes, Wagner is still at number 2, and Ridge Spring Manette actually moved up a spot to number 9. They were down at number 10, but now they're back up at number 9.
I think the voters wanted to see if they were going to show the focus that they needed to going down to Estill, and obviously they took care of business. So that's worth a move.
So they got up one spot, but that is what we have for the poll this week, and we're gonna get right into all the important stuff. Football,
yeah.
Actual games being played.
Yeah, it turns out the rankings don't matter for anything.
Not at this point, at least. But game of the week: Fox Creek, Silver Bluff.
Playoff spots on the line.
Playoff spot is on the line. Lots of people have moved their games up, but D'Angelo Bryant told me he didn't want to go through all the hassle of moving up. So they're going to play some old-fashioned, cold, wet football. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our camera crew is going to be thrilled about that.
Yeah, they're going to be real excited about that.
It should be a good game. Obviously, a playoff spot on the line. Silver Bluff coming in with a lot of momentum after basically holding 96 in check and getting a region victory, and now all they have to do is get a win over a Fox Creek team that they said can do some things offensively, have some athletes, and has a strong leader at quarterback as well heading into this one.
Well, it's, the playmakers are there. It's going to take consistency. That's what Derek Quinn told me, is that they haven't played consistent offensive football. And he said, there are some limitations here and there where it's more or less they have to play perfect at times, and they just haven't done it. So that's something that he is looking to see them do. They've rested some guys. They've gotten them healthy, because there are some positions there, running back, wide receiver, where they don't have the depth, where they can't afford to lose guys, and they've had to work around that. They're healthy. He's feeling good about it, expects it to be a competitive ball game. But we talk about Silver Bluff coming into this with all the momentum in the world after that win over 96. What's crazy about it, and with the region being the way it is, it doesn't mean anything if they don't win this game.
It doesn't. Bryant said he was making sure to tell the kids it's still only one game, so stay focused for this one. So obviously,
winner goes to the playoffs.
Yeah, winner goes to the playoffs, and as I said, based on the weather forecast, it could be an interesting game.
It could be a really ugly football game if the weather does what it's projected to do.
What everyone in the state is expecting it to do, I guess. I don't know. But that one should be a big one.
So they're fun games to play, not fun ones to be in the stands for.
Definitely. We're going to move to another game that, as of now, is still on for Friday. I don't know if that will change before you guys see this.
There's kind of a to-be-announced angle to it.
Yes, possibly one of the biggest games in the state. Barnwell taking on Bamberg down in Bamberg.
No possibly about it.
Yeah.
Across all classifications, this is one of the biggest games of the year.
It is a huge game. Obviously, Barnwell, winner obviously wins region title. And Barnwell has some...
There's a lot of unfinished business for Barnwell.
They're looking for some revenge in this one. Obviously, Bamberg beat them twice last year, got them a couple years ago. And so Barnwell is looking to kind of keep that unbeaten season going. So is Bamberg. And,
Barnwell, Bamberg has been the one consistent thorn in Barnwell's side. Yeah. Even when we've seen, because the Silver Bluff Barnwell rivalry historically is kind of one-sided, but even when we've seen, Barnwell, will break through, get the win there, they'll beat teams that maybe they haven't in a while, or this is their breakthrough season. It just seems like Bamberg is always in the way.
Bamberg is, and obviously this year they have some of the same players that they had last year. One being A.J. Williams, the quarterback, who kind of had some success against them, was very efficient passing the ball. Passing the ball, he passed for 212 yards in the two games combined and threw for 3 touchdowns. But they were able to hold him in check running the ball in the second game, so in the playoff game. But then Bamberg figured out some ways to do other things, and Bamberg's defense kind of played a big part in those games.
Right. But we will see what the Barnwell passing game does.
We will.
Because this is a different offense than in years past.
Bamberg is the reason this is a different offense, so it will be telling this game going into this one. So that should be another big one that I'm kind of jealous I'm not going to be at, but it is what it is. However, moving on to another to-be-determined game in terms of when it will be played. This one's still
This is part
scheduled
of the fun
for Friday.
Of doing this on Tuesday night.
Yes, as of recording this, it is scheduled for Friday night. There is some.
Well, the JV game we know has been moved up.
Yes.
Between Aiken
to
and North
open up
Augusta.
Thursday, presumably. Yes. Now, the other game was never moved to Thursday, but we will see. But Aiken, North Augusta playing, obviously a lot at stake here. North Augusta trying to, with a win and some help elsewhere, can win a region title for
big airport fans.
Yes, big airport fans, and obviously Aiken has a lot at stake as well, trying to get into the playoffs and things like that. So going into this one, it should be interesting to see how much the Aiken team has learned from some of the other teams in the region in terms of their approach against North Augusta and some of the teams that have a similar approach to North Augusta out there.
I'm curious to see how much pressure North Augusta sends at Corey Wallace.
Yes, that seems to have been the key to slowing that pass game somewhat. And obviously Brooklyn Casey did it last week and had some success. Strom Thurmond did it earlier in the year, had some success. And the teams who haven't been able to get pressure on them,
they've hit them over the top a bunch of times.
Yes.
And that didn't happen against BC.
That did not. So I think North Augusta will dial up some pressure, and we'll see how they respond to that because they've
got some guys up front that don't need the extra help either. That can kind of create that on their own.
Yeah, but the downside to the pressure is if you don't get there. It's more of the same over the top, but
that's when Charvis Jones is behind your DB, and there he goes.
That will be an interesting aspect of it, and trying to see how we've seen it a couple of times with Aiken and mobile quarterbacks or quarterbacks that run, and obviously Tanner White can get out and move with his feet.
Magician.
So they'll have to contend with that also. So it'll be interesting to see how that portion of it plays out with that Aiken defense trying to slow the run game.
Yeah, he is one of the area's leading rushers.
Yes, he is. And, there's a couple quarterbacks up there, him, Jaquan Harris, and Jesse also has over 500 yards rushing. So I think we'll see some Tanner White running on Friday night or Thursday night, whenever they play the game. We will see.
Now we move on to the sure things.
Yes, the sure things. And staying in that region in Class 4A, we have South Aiken traveling to Midland Valley, where Midland Valley is closing out the regular season, senior night. Big night down there. They have a new scoreboard.
And video board.
Yeah, video board. Jenkins said the kids will get to see themselves on the Jumbotron and things like that. So it's a big night there. But in terms of on the football field, they were really trying to get a victory this season before the season closes out. So they'll be trying to contend with a South Aiken team that's looking to bounce back after a loss to Airport.
Right, and Chris Hamilton told me that South Aiken's just got to play a South Aiken game this week. He said that didn't really happen last week. Uncharacteristic mistakes, turn the football over, 14 turnovers in 4 losses versus 2 in 4 wins. He said that they're keeping an eye on DeAndre Pearson, which I agree everyone should.
Yeah.
He's a game breaker that you have to, have at least a set of eyes on at all times. They're aware of what Harper Puckett can do throwing the football. They're aware of the weapons he has at wide receiver. They're aware of that athletic secondary over there that can make some plays as well. I really think that just the South Aiken team, it's been a lack of consistency at times. They've just got to find that, and they've made playoff runs in very recent past.
Yeah.
This is the time they're looking to dial it up and get back to sort of an area where they've had success recently.
Definitely, and obviously Midland Valley, as I said, coming in looking for a victory. They're also aware of that South Aiken defense, and as Jenkins said, they've yet to play a bad defense this season. So they've had lots of practice, but he's looking forward to another strong defensive front, and obviously they faced it last week. So some of the things that they were trying to do last week, they'll be trying to do again, and part of that is getting Pearson into some of the gaps and creating holes for him. So that'll be a big part of that game plan, and we'll see how that goes for Midland Valley.
Yeah, and going back to the new scoreboard, the new video board, I like that that's something that's happening for this last game. Probably very easily could have just said, we'll get it next season, and we'll put that in over the summer. But to be able to do that for the seniors, for them to be recognized up there, for the players to see them, the outgoing players be able to see themselves up there.
Right.
I mean, there hasn't been a lot to get really excited about over there. They've gone through some really tough times, but just something like that's exciting.
Definitely. So be a lot of excitement surrounding that in the senior night festivities.
Because it's not like the kids have earned it.
Yeah.
They deserve to see it before they go.
Yeah, definitely. And did lots of fundraising also.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Like they obviously, in addition to the hard work on the field, this wasn't just somebody came back and said, "Hey, I'm buying this for you."
Yeah. So well deserved there. Moving down to the Class A level.
Because we have no 3A game this week.
We do not, because Strom Thurmond has like 2 bye weeks.
Hey, 10 straight.
10 straight games, and they got in their game on the hurricane week. So
exactly.
Have a lot of free time on their hands. So
and you know what? That free time's a lot easier when you're the region champ.
That is true. So moving down to the Class A level, Region 3, where there's still a lot to be decided.
There's a lot going on down there.
We're going to start with Richmond-Minetta traveling to take on HKT, another Thursday night game. And Richmond-Minetta handled business down against Estill. Were focused, as Lipsy said they needed to be, and now they turn their attentions to an HKT team that it's going through a little bit of turmoil.
Yeah.
So they'll have lots on their minds, and Richmond's trying to secure some playoff position.
I almost wonder if that's kind of a wild card, where you're in a situation where as it was announced that head coach and an assistant were placed on leave pretty much. You kind of, I don't know if at this point you can look at the past X amount of weeks and say, oh, we trust that film or whatever. So you don't know if something different is going to come out of this. But what we know about HKT is what we've always known about HKT. Incredibly athletic, speed all over the field. They like to make the defense have to make a play in space. Because if you miss a tackle against them, they're in the end zone.
Yeah.
So that's something, though, that Richmond-Minetta obviously stopped last year. They shut them out last year in the regular season finale. So, there's things that they can look back on and say, oh, we did this and that, that helped us out. We can do this again. And it starts up front. Yeah. The defensive line gets pressure. It definitely takes away some of those options to get the ball out there in space. And then, offensively, they want to get Collier Sullivan going in the run
Surprise.
game. And we say it every week, good things happen when they do. And we're talking about, 268 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. And that takes so much pressure off of their freshman quarterback, Remedy Leapart. Had a much better game last week because, hey, when you can just turn around and hand it to Sullivan, that definitely
certainly doesn't hurt
things. Yeah,
doesn't hurt at all.
And so these are teams that have the same region record. So obviously, we're not having the region championship discussion right now, but we're certainly talking about playoff seeding, potential home game versus going on the road in the first round. I mean, these are still big games.
Definitely. And elsewhere where there's potential.
Now we can have
we can have the region championship
talk.
If Wagner wins in their game against Estill, where they're hosting Estill in this win, if they win, they're the region champs because obviously the worst that can happen is they lose one game and
they tie
with Blackville Hilda. But heading into this game, obviously it would be big to get this win. Obviously a region title, some history for the school, and obviously they'll be looking to hold off an Estill that we've talked about multiple times.
It's always
a tricky team.
It's always weird stuff when we talk about Estill, whether it's just mysterious results that pop up on their max preps, like that win they have over Willis-Sunoco this year when they haven't played yet, or even in years past, how when our teams play down there, it's just like the information never gets out of Estill. And then you even get into just how they play. I mean, Willie Fox told me that they've got a lot of different offensive formations that they like to use to try to catch the defense out of alignment. And that, Fox has seen in the past, they went and took a big lead on Estill. And they even went with some stuff that wasn't on film and got into a rhythm. So it's kind of, and Wagner-Sally's used to other teams doing weird stuff against them. I think in part because of what Wagner-Sally does being so different from what everyone else does. So they're used to seeing the weird stuff, and I mean, they've showed incredible focus this season, and this is another example of it. You know, we talked about it with them beating North, that it can be really easy to overlook North. Yeah. Because North has lost 40-plus games in a row. It can be easy to just say, oh, walk all over North. Well, Estill isn't a whole lot better in the standings. You know, it's a one-win team, but they recognize that it's a team that can still do some dangerous things, and I fully expect that they come out with that same level of focus, jump ahead early, and just put them away.
Definitely. I feel that will be the storyline of the game as well.
With what's at stake, there's just that added incentive. And, you know, with Wagner-Sally, we've talked all year about, you know, breaking new ground, doing stuff these kids haven't done before. They've handled it all really well so far, so I don't think that this will throw them off.
Definitely. And moving right along, Williston will travel to Denmark-Olar, a Denmark-Olar team that's been better than it's been in recent years. And,
it's a different thing that they're doing down there.
Yeah, and Williston team, once again, looking for playoff positioning. And
these teams are tied in the region standings.
So obviously a big one there, and Williston trying to bounce back from a Blackville game that I don't think anyone saw coming.
No.
In terms of score-wise and how it played out.
No, I mean, Blackville Hilda almost scored as many points as it has all season in that game. And Derek Youngblood told me that just they kind of got big played a little bit, and I think it's stuff that just normally doesn't work that way. And it was just kind of a compounding of, you know, bad luck and excellence on the Blackville Hilda side. Derek Youngblood always, you know, wants to see his team play kind of that perfect, consistent football game. Still looking for his guys to, you know, not get in their own way, which it's late in the season for a Williston Elko team to be focusing on that, but still a lot at stake. A chance for them to, you know, even the region record, and, you know, got a game coming up with Estill still. Regardless of what Max Prep says, that game still has yet to be played. And, you know, there's still a chance for them to be above 500 in region. And in doing so, they would be on a small winning streak going into the playoffs. So what they've just got to do is limit Denmark-Olar's big play ability, because they've got guys all over the field that can, I mean, if you go back and look at box scores from Denmark-Olar games, whether they win or lose, it's, you know, your standard, you know, rushing touchdown or passing touchdown, then interception return for a touchdown, kickoff return for a touchdown. They've just got guys who make big plays all over the place. And then defensively, they're sending a lot of pressure, but they're sending it from everywhere. So it's up to the guys up front for Williston Elko to kind of diagnose that and make the right reads and make the right blocks.
Sure enough, and that's all the games we have for this week. A lot of teams playing each other. So
Thursday/Friday action.
Some Thursday-Friday action, but we'll be right back to wrap up this Week 10 episode of The Walkthrough.
Keep your family comfortable all year long and save money on your utility bills with a preferred client service program from Holly Heating and Air. Holly's service program includes priority service, no overtime charges, 15% off all repairs, plus a regular duct system inspection. And should you suddenly need us, we're here for you with emergency service 24/7, 365 days a year. So turn to the experts, Carrier, and the comfort pros at Holly Heating and Air. A name you know, a name you trust.
And that is all we have for you this week on the Walkthrough Week 10 episode.
The weather-altered episode.
Yes, the weather-altered episode. So I guess this week we'll see you on the sidelines twice, potentially, Thursday and Friday night, depending on how many games end up being played on Friday night. Hopefully by the time this is up, we'll know all of that, but it won't be on the Walkthrough. But for Cal Dawson, I'm Eric Russell. That's all we have. You can join us next week for a special Halloween edition of The Walkthrough. where we have lots of special guests planned. Colin Demarest is going to make an appearance. He may make picks on air, which is amazing.
The pick master himself.
The pick master himself. You're going to get to see how he makes his picks. And he's going to be thrilled that we hyped it up this much when he sees this. But, and you'll meet everyone that makes this great show happen. So, and we'll be in costume. So there's that.
There's that.
And now I've promised that to you, so we have to be in
Yeah,
costume.
unfortunately now that means I got to do it.
So, yeah, we'll see you next week on The Walkthrough.